Fantasy Nation, here we go. We got a special episode this week. I have a special guest with us, Josh Potter, also goes by Brainpote. Please follow him at Brainpote. Josh and I go way back. We were boys in our Syracuse days at SU, and we've been talking about doing a podcast together for quite a while now. So it's incredible to have you on the show, Josh. Thanks for joining us, and
thank
give a
you,
quick
Dan.
rundown of your fantasy teams. All right.
Yeah, let's go straight to it. Thanks for having me. Firstly, and second most, foremost would have been our friendship, but my team, straight to it. And first of all, I'm honored to be here and happy to see you doing what you're doing. It's a blessing for those who get to see what this guy's going to give you, because he's locked in. Let me tell you, he's going to be locked in. And I would pretty much say that I've trusted him for most of the time I've played fantasy myself. So he's got a lot of good takes. It's clear. He's done his research. My team.
We've been in some leagues together too, right?
That's also true. We played together.
Yeah, we played in the Syracuse league for a hot minute. That lasted like 2 or 3 years and then died out.
True.
But that was fun.
It did die out, and it was not due to my dominance, because I have these kind of, what my thing is and how my friends would describe I play is that I just like lock into guys that I just believe in. I just think they're going to be guys that'll have great times for the year. And sometimes I structure my team around assuring that I acquire him.
Let me guess who those players are. I think I can name a few off the top of my head here. Kenny Golladay, number one.
That's an old one.
Kenny
not this year.
I'll give you an even older one. Year. Josh Gordon.
Whoa! I don't. Which team? Which Josh Gordon?
Jamal Charles.
Do this year. Oh, you're saying traditionally Jamal was
like in the past.
Jamal had to be on my team.
Yeah.
No matter how late he was going first round for me towards the end.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Josh is a great fantasy player, but he's very predictable with his draft picks.
Did Jamal finish with the Chiefs?
I think so. Yeah, I think he was.
So. He was. I loved him. This year, who do you think this year? Who got me in trouble this year? Let's be honest. Let me just say a tragic moment for me in a snake draft.
Oh, was it Derrick Henry?
No, it was a snake. So I do an auction, which I need, but I have a snake draft that I did this year, and I took Allen Robinson, and then the next pick, this is what, second or third round, was Cooper Kupp. So that was kind of my just like, cool. Wow. All right, I guess we're not competing this year. And then in my other auction, I balled out for a couple guys. Chubb's like my guy. I love him. So a lot of trades. Finished the year with a Debo. Got him in that little run where he was going crazy, and
nice.
Yeah, there's some highlights and lowlights. It was a hard season. I didn't make the playoffs in either of my leagues, but I try quite hard, as you know.
Yeah, it was a weird year. There were a lot of injuries, a lot of players that I guess just weren't expected to go off the way they did. The Robert Woods injury opens the door for the monster Cooper Kupp year. Not that he wasn't doing it prior to, but that happens. Derrick Henry goes out, and the Titans kind of change their identity a little bit and really don't provide any fantasy relevant players for us towards the end of the year.
Darrynton Evans, that's for sure.
Yep.
It wasn't
Darrynton
him.
Evans. Oh, yikes. That was a swing and a miss by me. I thought he was going to be something decent last year. But anyway, we are now 2 hours from kickoff of the first game of our NFL divisional round. Here we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. So we're going to dive right into it. We're going to try to get this out and published on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts right away for you guys. So anyone that is trying to get some of my last minute picks in before that first game can do so. A couple notes on the games this weekend. Niners, Packers, Rams, Bucks, and Bills, Chiefs are all rematches from the regular season, whereas Cincinnati and Tennessee are the only teams that have yet to play each other. So kind of interesting there. We have a lot of data on the first three matchups, not so much on the Bengals and Titans.
The Bengals Titans, it's got to be good.
These are all tough games.
How could that not be amazing?
I don't fully trust my picks this week because I think it could go either way in all 4 games. I could see
Absolutely.
any of the 8 teams advancing. So
Completely.
would
Which one do you
would
feel
not
most
be
confident about? Well, I guess we'll get to that,
well,
but
yeah, we'll go game by game. Most confident,
let's say it
I
on
would say the
three.
Packers.
One,
I
two.
would say the
Yeah, Packers.
Packers.
It's the clear Packers. Yeah,
Packers at home against
that's
this
what I was
Niners
asking.
team. It's
Hmm.
it's the best matchup of the bunch.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I would say the Bills. I feel
Hmm.
really strongly about the Bills over the Chiefs tomorrow.
Hmm. Bills are
Um,
hot. Bills are hot.
but let's jump right into the first game here, starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Bengals at Titans. Bengals coming off that big win over Las Vegas last week. That was 26-19, closer than it really had to be at the end. Raiders made a strong push, and the Bengals held them off. Titans, of course, had that first round bye, so they've been sitting on this game for a couple of weeks now. Give me the Titans money line. I think they win this game outright. I do like the Bengals to cover the spread, though, at 4 points. And I'm going to take the over at 47.5. It's two teams with, not bad defenses, but where they are most vulnerable is also where the opposing team's offensive strengths lie. So the Titans are beatable over the top. The Bengals take a lot of deep shots, whereas the Bengals defense is more vulnerable, I guess, to the run game, and that's what the Titans do best. So just a weird matchup here. I could, again, like I said, I could see this game going either way. Since he's coming off that first playoff victory in 31 years last week, so they finally got that monkey off their back. And the last time these two teams played each other was last year when the Bengals beat them 31-20, and obviously that was a much less talented roster for Cincinnati. No Jamar Chase, no Joe Mixon in that game. The defense was obviously a lot worse last year. So if you think that tells you anything about this year, then you would go with the Bengals because the Bengals are a more improved roster all around, whereas the Titans have basically the same pieces in place. To me, the X factor here, Joe Burrow, he has that Tom Brady energy as a leader. And what I mean by that is he just really isn't happy to be there. He wants to win it all. He's not going to be content with just making it this far. And then on the Tennessee side of things, Mike Vrabel, his teams are actually undefeated when they have 8 or more days of rest. They're 8-0. So when you look at them getting that bye week, that was huge. Titans had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And of course, they didn't know their opponent until last week, but still, they have that extra preparation. They have that playoff experience that a lot of the Bengals don't have. And we really can't ignore that. So those are kind of my notes on the game. I really could see this going either way. What do you think, Josh?
Dan, I gotta say, are they 1-0 when they've had 8 days and then Derrick Henry returning after 80 some? Like,
oh, good point.
I just don't see. I don't see how that Tennessee defense is not gonna stifle a little bit of Joe Mixon today, which forces Joe to throw over the top. And maybe he has some connections because he's got all the talent to throw to. But I think the Titans just will. You see a lot of Henry. I hope.
You like how I conveniently left that part out of it, right?
Which one?
King
Henry
coming back, the biggest part.
I just don't know if he puts up a plus 100 and a touchdown, they'll roll. I mean, minimally. I'm saying like he could.
Yeah,
I would love to see him go crazy. If he's
two
released, he's not going to be tinkered in. We're going to see him back.
couple of key matchups you touched on it. The Titans' run game against the Bengals' run defense.
Right.
King Henry being back for the first time since Week 8. That was back in October 31st. He had that foot injury. Can the wide receivers step up? Julio Jones and AJ Brown, two of the biggest names in football. They have to make some plays.
Script the king.
Yeah.
Just script him. That's it.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Bengals passing game against this Titans secondary. The Titans secondary is their weak point. The Bengals wide receivers, that is their strong point in Cincinnati. So something has to give here. One of the two is going to give. Mm-hmm. I think it's the Titans secondary. I think the Bengals passing game takes off. But the Bengals are going to have to get this run game going. A lot of times people think you have to run the ball to pass. Sometimes it's the other way around. You have to pass the ball to run. And I think that's exactly what Cincinnati needs to lean on here, those short intermediate passes to open up the run game for Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon.
Big Tyler Boyd day.
Yeah, big Tyler Boyd day. I agree. A couple of defensive players on the Titans side of things, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, and Jeffrey Simmons. Those are going to be the 3 key cogs for them defensively. If they can get consistent pressure on Burrow, I think the Titans have a good shot at winning today. For Cincinnati defensively, Eli Apple, Mike Hilton, Jesse Bates, all 3 of those guys have been playing out of their mind in that secondary. They all need to have strong games in order for Cincinnati to stay in this one and keep it close. Weather, low 30s, light wind, nothing to worry about. And again, keys to success for me. The Titans, they need to take shots down the field. Let your star wide receivers make plays and open up the running lanes for King Henry. As far as Cincinnati goes, don't force it. Rely on the run game and take what they give you. Running back checkdowns, 5-yard out routes. That's likely going to be the key to opening up the deeper shots later in the game to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. A couple of player prop bets I like. Anytime touchdowns, some no-brainers, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry. Long shots that I like, Ryan Tannehill and Joe Burrow on the ground. I think they both are going to rush for a touchdown today. I like the Joe Burrow over on passing yards, 278.5. Receiving yards, give me the over for T. Higgins at 62.5. Julio over at 47.5. And Tyler Boyd, like you mentioned, Josh, over 45.5 yards. That's too low for him. He's going to be a key part of that game plan for Cincinnati. Rushing yard prop bets, I like the over for Mixon at 58.5, over for Tannehill at 15.5, and over for Joe Burrow at 8.5 yards rushing. Again, these are two mobile quarterbacks. They're going to have to use their legs to get both of their offenses on the scoreboard. Injuries of note, Derrick Henry, he's back. We mentioned that. Both teams are fairly healthy in this one. Trey Hendrickson should play this week for Cincinnati. He is their best pass rusher, so that's a big boost if he plays. And one other thing to note, Ian Rappaport reported earlier today that the Titans plan to make A.J. Brown one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league in the offseason. So that kind of report doesn't just come out of the woodworks, right? There's a reason they wanted that to be known before this game. So maybe an added boost for A.J. Brown. Maybe he's a little bit more motivated knowing his team, his GM, his owner has his back with a big payday coming. Moving ahead to the second game here, Josh, we got Saturday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. 49ers coming off that big win over Dallas, 23-17. They almost let it slip away, but they didn't. Heading to Green Bay. Packers, of course, had that first-round bye in the NFC. Man, I'm going to take the Packers money line. I think the Niners cover the spread, 5.5 points on the road. That's a lot. Again, I think a lot of these games, all four of them really are a toss-up for me. So 5.5 points, I'll take the underdog all day. And I'm going to go over at 47.5 points. I think this is a sneaky shootout. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's going to be points in this one. I think that's how Jimmy's going to have to keep up because Rodgers is ready to sling it out there, and he's wanting to take it home this year. So there's no way they're going to hold back. I think we'll see Jones kind of flashing, and everyone knows he can. It's kind of just like an injury thing this year, primarily that slowed him down a little bit. But if Jones is back and Rodgers has weapons to get involved too, then it's going to be Jimmy having to keep up, getting Debo and Ayuk involved in weird ways, and run games have to be big tonight for these guys too. The Niners.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Run heavy game plan, I think, for both teams. This is the opposite of Cincinnati. I think they're going to have to run to be able to throw the ball. In their first meeting, Green Bay won 30-28. That was in San Francisco back in September. Rodgers threw for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jimmy G, 257, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Packers ran for 100 yards and a touchdown. Niners ran for 67 and 2 TDs. Keep in mind, though, there was no Eli Mitchell in that first meeting, so Trey Sermon was the leading running back for the Niners. They're going to have Mitchell in this one, and he looks like a stud to me.
And they lost by 2.
Yeah, and they only lost by 2, right? Devontae Adams, he went for 12 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. That's
was Dylan big in that game?
He wasn't as big. No, he wasn't. It was more the Aaron Jones and
right.
Devontae
So you
Adams
could see them both tonight. I could see Dylan kind of.
Dylan's going to be a key.
Too.
Lambeau in January. You'll hear me say that a few times here in this prep. But MVS, 3 catches, 59 yards and a touchdown. So he was a factor. He's a little dinged up right now. Kittle, 7 for 92. He's also a little dinged up. Doesn't quite look the same. And Debo had 5 for 52. Kyle Juszczyk, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Ayuk, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. So like you mentioned, Josh, the Niners kind of got this ball. They're spreading around. They got everyone involved, and that's how this offense clicks. Packers defense, 4 sacks and an interception by Jair Alexander, who's coming back this week for this game. So he was a factor in the first matchup. Let's see if he's the same this week after an extended period of time being out. Niners defense only had 1 sack, so they weren't much of a factor, but they're playing really well right now. A couple guys dinged up on the defensive line. Jimmy G is not 100%. He's got that thumb injury. He's got the shoulder injury.
Poor guy.
And his last 2 games were indoors. They were in a
Mhm.
dome. So now he heads to Lambeau, one of the harshest, coldest atmospheres in football right now. And going to Lambeau in January, that's tough for any quarterback, let alone a dinged up quarterback that has been playing indoors the last couple of weeks. I hope the Niners give Trey Lance a shot. At least, I think he's the X factor here. At least get him
Wow.
involved in those red zone packages
Cool.
and try to use him creatively. But yeah, if Jimmy G is off to a bad start and I was the coach, I would not be shy. I would not shy away from turning to Trey Lance. He's definitely ready.
Sure. Don't let Jimmy throw a pick tonight. That would be nice.
That's the key. Yeah, if
Gets
Jimmy
that
can just,
turnover, that sack fumble.
yeah,
Rodgers
yeah,
might take some sacks tonight. They have a great pass rush, but if I don't see him struggling much in the secondary, I guess I don't know. He'll play it pretty safe, dump offs to Aaron and AJ, and he's got all the receivers you mentioned across too. So
yeah, exactly. Rodgers coming off the bye week. Green Bay's getting some weapons back. Cobb, I mentioned Alexander, Zadarius Smith. So it just feels like they're getting healthy at the right time. One key fact, I didn't know this. Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against San Francisco in the playoffs. 2 of those games were against the Colin Kaepernick-led teams in San Francisco. And the last time they met in Santa Clara, it was Matt LaFleur against Kyle Shanahan. The Niners absolutely smoked him in the NFC Championship game. So
right.
I think that's relevant. That's not nothing. If he's 0-3 against the team, he needs to buck that trend. So hopefully they show us something different here and they can do just that. As I mentioned, I am picking the Packers, but I think this is a close game, closer than 5.5 points.
Rodgers is hungry for that one, especially.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
And this is his last dance. We know the narrative there with him and Devontae potentially leaving Green Bay. And then on the San Francisco side of things, we all know what Mike McDaniel, the offensive coordinator in San Francisco's offensive scheme, is going to do. We know why they work so well. They're able to run the same formation, same personnel groups, and mix it up with different plays. So can Green Bay stop the run, especially between the tackles? I don't know. We haven't seen them in a couple of weeks. I think San Francisco is going to try to run it down their throat. Maybe a big Eli Mitchell first half to keep this game close and keep Rodgers off the field.
Don't forget about Debo back there.
Debo too. Yep. Yeah.
If Debo gets a rushing touchdown, I mean,
yeah, Debo's a running back
trouble.
hybrid. Let's be real. He needs to have running back and wide receiver designation next year in fantasy. Weather in this one, I touched on it, 10 degrees, 10 mile per hour winds. It's going to be cold. Lambeau, January, not the place you want to play if you are an injured quarterback. Key matchups here. San Francisco's secondary against the Green Bay wide receiver, specifically Devontae Adams. What did Dallas do last week that ended up costing them? They ignored their best playmaking wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. What won't Aaron Rodgers ever do? Ignore his best playmaker on offense, Devontae Adams. So I think that he kind of bucks that trend. That was a fluky, weird game plan by Dallas. How do you not get Lamb involved? And Troy Aikman absolutely destroyed that coaching staff in the postgame and really during that entire telecast. Just he couldn't believe that they weren't getting him involved. And I tend to agree with him. That was terrible game plan. Get your playmakers involved. That's why San Francisco beat them. They got Debo and the rest of those guys into it early. San Francisco, key to success, slow down the run game, slow down the game and run the ball down their throat. 49ers are 5th in the NFL in offensive DVOA. That's defensive adjusted value over average. Packers are 28th in rush defense DVOA. So clear contrast there. They should be able to run the ball and hopefully they stick to it. On Green Bay, on the Green Bay side of things, they need to stop the run, force Jimmy G to beat them in the air, through the air. So it's pretty obvious. That's the key to being the Niners. Make Jimmy G beat you and not that run game and play calling. Anytime touchdown bets, no brainers. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. My favorite long shots are Randall Cobb and Trey Lance. Passing yard prop bets, I like the over for Rodgers, 265.5 yards. I like the receiving yard prop overs for Kyle Juszczyk at 10.5. Eli Mitchell at 9.5, Devontae Adams 92.5 yards, Aaron Jones at 25.5, and AJ Dillon over the 8.5 yard prop bet. For rushing yard totals, I like the over for Aaron Jones at 50.5 and AJ Dillon at 39.5. But I'm going to take the under on Deebo Samuel's 38.5 yards. I think the Packers make that a point of emphasis defensively, is taking Deebo out of it, at least from the rushing side of things, and maybe kind of giving him that QB spy treatment with a linebacker. So if he's out there out wide, you've got a cornerback on him, but you also have a linebacker that has Debo always in the peripheral vision. And if you see him coming through like a wide receiver screen, wide receiver sweep, he's going to need double, triple coverage. And I think that's what they do.
Even in the red zone.
Especially in the red zone. You gotta keep 2, 3, 4 sets of eyes on Debo defensively. Injuries of note: Fred Warner's going to play. Nick Bosa's going to play. Looks like MVS has a back injury. He should play. David Bakhtiari is going to play. Randall Cobb, Alexander Smith, they're all coming back. So, Green Bay is getting healthy at the right time. I think this is the start of their deep playoff run into the Super Bowl. Okay, moving on to Sunday, Josh. We got the LA Rams coming off that win over Arizona. Absolutely smoked them. Kyler and the Cardinals did not show up. 34-11. Rams are traveling to Tampa Bay. Bucks coming off that big win over Philadelphia, 31-15. Philadelphia made some noise late, but that was a blowout start to finish. I'm going to take the Bucks here in the money line. Give me the Rams at +3. And I think the game goes over the 48 points, but I'm not super confident. I think this could be a defensive struggle early. Two sneaky good defenses and just kind of a weird matchup, really. I think this could be the ugliest game of the 4. What do you think?
Dan, I got to say, besides ugly, this is just so exciting, this one. I just have no idea what could happen. If Brady, I could see it going so many ways. I definitely could see it being low-scoring defensive battle. A lot of getting the ground game involved and maybe struggling a little bit there. Fournette's back, but I think these defenses are ready to step up and slow things down. And I don't know. I can't see Brady or Stafford putting up 3 touchdowns today, but.
Well, listen to this. So this was their first game that they played, right? This was earlier this season, 34-24. So Rams won. Rams won 34-24. Listen to these stats, though. They're astronomical.
They're all cup.
Brady, 41 of 55. He threw the ball 55 times, 432 yards and a touchdown.
Whoa.
Stafford, 27 of 38, 343 and 4 touchdowns.
Whoa.
Tampa Bay's rushing attack, 35 yards, not much, but 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Wow.
Rams, 76 yards rushing. Evans had 100 yards receiving.
How many did Godwin have?
74. 6 for 74 for Godwin.
Yeah.
Gronk had 4 for 55.
Wow.
Gio Bernard was a big factor.
I was going to say Gio.
9 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. 51. So we might see more of him in this game.
What about Stafford? He just got Kupp there a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, Kupp had his usual 9 for 96, 2 touchdowns, yawn. Rinse and repeat with him. They had Deshaun Jackson in this first matchup. He had 3 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. He had that big 80-yard bomb, if you remember. And then Van Jefferson had 4 for 42. Higbee 5 for 40 and a touchdown. The Rams defense, 3 sacks, so they did get home on Brady, whereas Tampa only had 1 sack in that game. And then it's also important to know the Rams also won 27-24 in Tampa Bay last year, so they had their number both times.
They had Whitworth that matchup, I'm imagining.
Yep.
That could be an interesting loss.
Whitworth is going to be out.
But no Akers. So
yeah, right. Akers looks great. Who knows? He is back, just 6 months removed from that torn Achilles.
Incredible.
I mean, just insane. Listen to the snap percentage last week. Cam Akers 53%, Sony 40%. Route percentages: Akers 52, Sony 32, carries Akers 17, Michelle 13, and Akers had 2 targets to Michelle's 0. People were saying that it was going to be a big Sony game. And last week I came on the show and I said, watch out for Cam Akers. They're going to start to unleash this guy. He looked good in practice. All the reports were positive, and he looked awesome. Stafford actually missed him on 2 potential receiving touchdowns in that game. That was wild.
Good for Cam. Happy for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, happy for him, man. Yeah. It's always good to see these guys.
Darrell Henderson's still out with an injury, but Cam's backfield is just, they're ready for him.
I heard a crazy stat the other day. Tom Brady at 44 years old is older than all of the opposing playoff coaches left in the NFC.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy? So aside from Bruce Arians, I'm talking Shanahan and Matt LaFleur and McVay. He's older than all the head coaches on the opposing teams. That's just crazy.
Wow.
Bucks wide receiver and tight end route rates. These are just some trends that I'm following. Last week, Mike Evans 95%, Gronk 86%, Tyler Johnson saw 86% of the routes. Brashad Perriman 62%, Brait 26%, Scotty Miller 19%. We're going to see that come up quite a bit this week. I think Scotty plays closer to he probably sees closer to 30 to 35% of the snaps, I would say, percent of the routes. OJ Howard, 12% last week. He should see a few more. These guys are going to have to step up. The Rams are going to try to eliminate Evans and Gronk. Obviously the key matchup here is going to be Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans. He's going to try to take him out of the picture.
Fun.
What's that?
Fun one alert.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy matchup.
That's an awesome matchup. Love that.
On the Rams side of things, confidence is back in Matthew Stafford, and Odell looks rejuvenated in LA. Weather for this one, beautiful, 50s, high 50s, 10-mile-per-hour winds. Of course, it's in Tampa, so we might see some scattered storms, but it's not in the forecast right now. Key matchups, I mentioned Akers before. Akers in that Rams run game against the Tampa Bay run defense. That's always a key matchup. Really good run defense, really good run offense right now with the Rams. Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller, they should get some more playing time. The Rams are going to try to take away, as I mentioned, Mike Evans and Gronk, so that should leave plenty of single coverage for Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller. Ramsey on Evans. I think I'd give the advantage to Ramsey right now. I don't really know why, because Evans torched him last time they played, but I just have a feeling that Ramsey takes, and I think Brady is towards Gronk, who's going to have 92-year-old Eric Weddle covering him. So, they just signed Weddle off the street last week.
Gross.
So I'm going to give the advantage to Gronk if they put Weddle on him. Another matchup, Rams suspect O-line. You mentioned Whitworth being out. That's huge. Bucks star-studded D-line is going to have a field day, I think. If they can get home against Stafford, that's how you beat them. Yeah, they're going to feast.
They could feast.
And then the poor Bucks secondary against the electric Rams passing game. That's the other key. For the Rams, don't force the run. Short completions to the playmakers like Cooper Kupp and Odell. Let the passing game open up the run game later on. For Tampa Bay, slow down the Rams pass rush. Just run the ball between the tackles and try to keep Von Miller out of the backfield and keep Brady off his back. Player props that I like, anytime touchdown, no-brainers, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers, and Gronk. Long shots that I like, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and Van Jefferson. Love the passing yard prop for Matthew Stafford, 277.5. He's going to go way over that. We touched on the last time these guys met. Stafford threw for 343 yards and 4 touchdowns, so he's going to go well over the 277.5. Receiving yard props, I like Van Jefferson over 35.5. Mike Evans under 69.5. Gronk over the 64.5 yards, and Akers over 18.5 receiving yards. Rushing yards, I also like Cam Akers to go over 50.5 yards and Stafford over 2.5 yards. Couple injuries, Shaq Barrett and Levante David both look great. They were back last week. Leonard Fournette with his hamstring, he's going to play. Rashad Perriman's hip injury, Ronald Jones, ankle injury, both of those guys are out. Cyril Grayson is questionable with a hamstring. Tristan Wirfs, questionable with an ankle injury. Ryan Jensen, questionable with an ankle injury. I think both of those guys play. And then we touched on it. The Rams star safety, Jordan Fuller, he's out for the season-ending ankle injury in the final week of the regular season. So the Rams signed Eric Weddle off the street. Fuller was their defensive QB, and I think Weddle's trying to take that over. And it's just that's a lot for him to handle 2 weeks back in the NFL. Andrew Whitworth is out. Darrell Henderson is out this week, but he should return next week if the Rams advance. And that pretty much puts a bow on that game. Anything you want to add, Josh? I think we covered it.
I still don't decide who I think will win.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm torn. I keep going back and forth.
Dan, I'm going to go on record.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to see Brady wins tomorrow, Sunday. Oh
yeah.
Man, that should be the man. That could be a classic.
That's the first Sunday game. So that's
I wish it was the nighttime game.
Woo.
That one could be a real classic.
I can't bet against Brady. I've done it too many times, and
I just can't see it happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, this game's going to come down to the final
Rams.
possession. This game's going to come down to the final drive. Who would you rather have the ball? Stafford.
Exactly.
Brady,
right.
It's a no-brainer. Everyone in Detroit knows it too. They've seen Stafford their whole his whole career there in Detroit, and he never won any big game for them. So. All right, so we can move on here. Final game of the weekend. This is going to be the best game of the week. Buffalo traveling to Kansas City Sunday, 6:30 Eastern time kickoff. Buffalo. All right, I'm sorry. Josh is a Pats fan. Josh is a Pats fan, so we got to cover this game last week real quick. We don't need to touch on the details, Josh, but the Bills,
but do we?
The Bills won 47-17. I mean, what happened? What happened there?
They won 47-17. That's a fact. However, there's always the next season. There's the off season. There's the preseason. There's the postseason of next year too. So we're just moving on with Mac. I mean, Mac, we're not worried. So hopefully they get him some weapons, and Buffalo's steamrolling. We're happy to see him.
Here's what I'll say about Mac Jones, though.
Yeah,
he looked good as a rookie. He has arm strength problems. He doesn't have the arm.
He can't fling it. He's got to work on his motion. He'll improve his motion. It's there. Like he has the deep ball connection and in him. He just has to work on the.
To me, if I'm drafting a quarterback right now, I want them coming in with a couple of things: accuracy and arm strength. He has the accuracy.
He's got the accuracy.
He does not have the arm strength, and that's just a tough thing to teach. You can't just build that over time.
It's possible that the offense operates with the slot guys primarily involved. So
we'll see. We'll do an off-season show. Josh will be back for that. We'll cover the Pats off-season moves. Hopefully, they can give him some more weapons.
Get Mac a 1, have Bourne and Jacoby underneath.
Yeah,
it's a different game plan.
I hope the Pats make a run on Calvin Ridley. There's talks that
cool.
he's trade bait over there in Atlanta. So
that'd be lovely.
But anyway, Bills coming off that big win. Chiefs coming off that win over Pittsburgh. I'm not going to call that big because they just walked right all over them. That was an easy game. That was a walkthrough for the Chiefs. Yeah. Give me the Bills money line, and obviously the Bills to cover +1.5 if I'm taking them to win outright. I like the over here. 54 points is insane. That might be one of the highest totals of the year. I still like the over. There's not going to be a lot of defense. Going into last week, Josh Allen was in a bit of a slump. Couldn't really get it going against the Jets and the Falcons to close out the regular season. And then he absolutely erupts last week against the Patriots.
Oh yeah.
And I said, and I said it last week.
Like he's doing magic
tricks. Said it last week. I thought the Bills facing the Patriots right off the bat in the playoffs would be a good thing for this team in the long run. I thought they had a chance to exercise those demons, right off the bat, make sure that you just put that in the, in hindsight. And I thought that was going to propel them into the NFC Championship game and eventually into the Super Bowl. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that this has kind of lit a little fire underneath them. This has sparked something from the Bills that we didn't see last year. I also mentioned it last week. The Bills are using a 6th lineman to help with the run game more and more, and it's clearly helping. Singletary looks like he's rejuvenated. He found the fountain of youth, and Josh Allen's obviously doing it on the ground as well. Real quickly, this is a rematch of the 2020 AFC title game where Kansas City absolutely smashed Buffalo last year, 38-24. It wasn't even that close. Josh Allen threw for 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and 88 yards on the ground. Mahomes threw for 325 and 3 TDs. Singletary wasn't much of a factor. Darrell Williams had 52 yards on the ground and a touchdown.
Tyreek Hill had 600 yards and 8 scores.
Yeah, wow. Seriously, 9 receptions, 172 yards for Tyreek Hill. Kelsey, 13 for 118 and 2 TDs. Dawson Knox was a factor with a touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie had a receiving touchdown. Cole Beasley, 7 catches for 88 yards in that game. That's something to monitor. I think that he has a big game tomorrow as well. And KC had 114 yards rushing as a team, 2 touchdowns on the ground. So they were able to move the ball against this Bills defense. But this is a different Bills team. Kansas City's defense had 4 sacks. Bills only had 1 in that game. The rest of Kansas City's receivers combined for 7 catches and 35 yards, aside from Tyreek and Kelsey. That's pretty crazy. So they're going to need to find someone else to help them out in this game. It's not going to be just rely on Kelsey and Hill. Because as I mentioned, if the over's 54 points and they hit it, they're going to need more offense than what they got in that game last year.
Dawson Knox is the locks to score, is he not?
Oh, I like it. I see what you did there.
Is he not?
He is. He was my favorite pick for anytime touchdown last week, and I'll stick with him again this week. The guy's an animal. He's probably a top 5 tight end in redraft next year.
He's so cool.
If it's not top 5, it's top 7.
He's awesome.
Kansas City, they've already been here. They've been to the Super Bowl. I think Buffalo might be a little bit hungrier in this game. I mentioned it. The Steelers was such an easy first-round matchup, and that could actually be detrimental to the Chiefs if you really think about it. If they come in thinking that this is going to be, an easy game or similar game to last week's, they're wrong. The Bills are a different animal. They proved it last week against the Pats. And keep in mind, if the Bills win and the Bengals win, the Bills are going to host the AFC Championship game next week, which would be nuts. I think we all want to see the AFC Championship game in Buffalo. Weather for this one, high 30s, 3-mile-per-hour winds. One X factor for the Bills defense, Gregory Rousseau, can he get to Mahomes early and often? We'll see. Micah Hyde, he had that big interception against the Pats. I actually think that was the turning point in that game. That interception was wild. When he picked it off in the end zone, one-handed.
Oh, absolutely.
That was nuts.
Oh, absolutely. Let's not forget about one just brutal drop by Brandon Bolden that could have been a little bit of a momentum shifter too.
That was so bad.
That was a bad one.
That was going to go for 40 yards.
That was like the thing where you're like, oof, I hope that doesn't matter. And then later you're like, it might have.
It's crazy. You start to realize how much the Patriots missed James White this year.
James White for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Come on.
He would have caught.
Who would have been better? 10 balls a game, easy. Oh, Mac. Oh, he's I got the best. Yeah, James. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Sweet feet. That would have been massive.
Captain check down.
For a rookie? Come on, for a rook. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like a binky. That's a binky to a baby.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll title this show. We'll title the show Mac Jones pacifier, and instead of a pacifier, just have James White like in his mouth.
And Hunter Henry's like the rattle or something. Like John is like Hunter Henry is like the rattle or something. Or like the like rotating around him. It's like all his random receivers. Like.
So keys to success for Buffalo, they got to run the ball and spread the wealth on offense. Don't get tunnel vision for Diggs. Josh Allen's been very good about that. And on the defensive side of things, force Mahomes to check down and play slow. The Bills averaged 5.3 yards per carry on rushes up the middle over the last 4 weeks of the regular season. That was tied for third in the NFL. The Chiefs allowed 5.6 yards per carry when defending rushes up the middle over the last 4 weeks of the regular season, which was second worst in the NFL. So, it's all kind of adding up. The Bills got to run the ball. The Chiefs are vulnerable up the middle. So, should be a big game for Singletary. Maybe Josh Allen does it with his legs as well. On the Chiefs side of things, get Tyreek Hill involved early and often. Get creative in the run game and short to intermediate passing. They're going to need someone other than Kelsey and Hill to step up. And on defense, don't let Josh Allen beat you with his legs. Maybe you go double QB spy. Maybe you bring the safety up a little bit more. Keep 8 or 9 guys in the box. Try to force Josh Allen to beat you deep because he is kind of beating teams, over the middle of the field and shorter routes. So one thing to note here, Josh Allen had 6 carries for 66 yards in the win over the Patriots. He also had 8 for 42, 7 for 88, and 11 for 59 and a touchdown in his 3 career games against the Chiefs. So he's clearly going to do it with his legs. They just got to try to keep him below that 50 or 60-yard mark.
Dan, what's the over under on no look passes for both quarterbacks?
I know. Who can do it better? I think Josh Allen's better now. To me, he's a little bit trick. He's a little tricky.
He does some crazy angles, and I don't know what you're supposed to do about that. And you got to worry about him just releasing through past the line of scrimmage too, and just picking him up. Mahomes isn't as confident with that right now, so kind of just scrambles, maybe stays behind the line. But Josh is just gonna, I'm just gonna get like a quick 12 real quick in case.
Mahomes doesn't really look right. Something's up.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's a little. He's trying to be conservative, but he also has this like tendency to kind of go crazy, run around and sling it. But he's not.
I'm not going to say he's injured. I don't know if he's. All guys are injured at this point, but I don't think it's like a serious injury. But it just mentally, something's not right there.
I think he's in between, kind of adapting, and the Bills aren't going to help him kind of understand that because I don't think he's going to be able to sling it too much around them.
Right. My favorite anytime touchdown picks, the no-brainers: Travis Kelce, Diggs, Tyreek Hill. My favorite long shots, though, Isaiah McKenzie. He scored a touchdown last time. I think he scores a touchdown again here. Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Emmanuel Sanders. I like all of those guys to score TDs. Passing yards, give me the over for both Josh Allen at 280.5, Mahomes at 281.5. It's crazy those guys are separated by 1 yard. It's so funny. If I had to choose one, I'd choose Josh Allen over Mahomes. And then receiving yards, I like the over for Sanders at 25.5, Singletary 20.5, Diggs. I like him to go over 69.5 yards receiving. Beasley over 29.5, and Kelsey over 68.5 yards. Rushing yards, I like both quarterbacks. Mahomes going to go over 24.5 yards. Josh Allen over 51.5. And a couple injuries. Darrell Williams, toe. He's questionable, seriously questionable. He might not even play. Clyde Edwards-Helaire will play, and it sounds like he's going to get his full workload in this game. That was the report coming out today out of Kansas City. So if he does, I actually like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire anytime touchdown prop bet. And that does it, Josh. That wraps it. Those are all 4 games covered for you. Divisional round, we got you guys covered. Moneyline, spread, over/under, game notes. I mean, I don't know what more you guys want from us, but
what else could you want?
We try to do this quick, 40 minutes.
That was a nice run through, Dan.
What's that?
That was a great run through. You told them.
Woo! That was a lot. It was a lot of info.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
There's gonna be so many highlights. I can't wait to see the real after all this. There's just gonna be a lot of superstars out there.
Yeah, this is the best week of football in terms of just these are the 8 best teams left.
Teams
right?
that should be there. That's
teams
what it
that
is.
should be there. You
That's
could
really
argue Cowboys over the Niners, but man, they were so bad last week. They didn't deserve it.
No.
Yeah, so good luck to all the DFS players out there. We know that fantasy is pretty much over. So DFS, if you're making some money lines, spread picks, player prop bets, good luck to all you guys there. Yeah, dude, appreciate you joining us, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Him, BrainPote at
check out BrainPote.
His YouTube page is absolutely hilarious. Look at that. He's got the BrainPote coasters. Are you kidding me? Let's go.
Angling. Don't forget. But whatever you do, don't forget to just stay tuned for more expertise from the fantasy umpire himself.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a little bit of different taste, you can check us out too. But thanks for having me, Danny boy.
Yeah, BrainPote's definitely a little bit different, but it's funny. It's comedic. Comedic relief is what we all need right now. So check it out, guys. Give him a follow. Give him a subscription on YouTube.
Why not?
And Josh, I appreciate you joining me, man. I know this has been something we're trying to do for probably the last 10 years. So we talked about doing a podcast in college and never really came to
3,200 days now that we've sort of been discussing this, and thanks to
1,842
you, we're here.
42 hours.
Yes, but it doesn't matter now. We've done it, Dan. So thank you for
first
doing
one's
it.
in the books. First one's in the books. Now we can kind of build from here. Yeah, man, this was a blast. We're gonna keep it over 45 minutes, which is great.
Great outlook for what's to come, I think.
And don't forget, guys, you can catch this on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so listen to me in your car rides. You know, you got your commute to work every morning. I'm going to be on Apple Podcasts every week from here on out. And big things coming. Shout out to John at Jet providing the soundtrack for the opening. I don't know if it's going to be in this video or the next one, but he is he's a madman on the beats. So he's the maestro. And Jetty, shout out to you, dude. I know you're going to watch this. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you guys, and good luck in all your matchups.
And shout out to whoever gave Nick Chubb the genes that he was given.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know like how they were just like they're going to make a baby and then it grows up to be that. That's pretty cool.
And shout out to Trader Joe's, our sponsor.
That's a good one too. Yeah, a lot of good items there.
Yeah,
help.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Helped grow a lot of young talent. Maybe Derrick Henry eats some pretzels with peanut butter.
Shout out to the peanut butter pretzels as well,
and the almond butter.
And the almond butter.
I forget the almond butter.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man.
Nuts. All right, Joshy.
Thank you, man. Good luck, everyone.
All right.
All right.